I just had mushroom soup with bread. That's common, right? Eating mushroom soup with bread. Was that like a ghetto thing? Was that a hood thing? I don't even know. I think in restaurants you eat it with what do you call those little things? Those little biscuit things. Kind of crunchy and shit. Whatever. It's kind of like biscotti, but not. It's biscotti for soup. Croutons. Croutons. We eat mushroom soup with croutons in restaurants. At home, I eat mushroom soup with bread. Yeah. I think that's common though, isn't it? So we're talking about addiction. Addiction, a dependence on something. Dependence on some kind of substance, perhaps something that's not so material, something like an emotion, or perhaps something visual. Addicted to porn. Does that work? Yeah. Yeah. Definitely, right? There are people who are addicted to porn. We're talking about addiction. Addiction. I'm guessing this is quite a negative thing. Negative thing. Yeah. We're talking about addiction in the sense where there's a dependency on something and definitely a loss of free will in terms of trying to pull away from addiction or pull away from that thing or substance or whatever it is that we're addicted to. What about positive addiction? Does that exist? Is there such a thing as a positive addiction? Like stereotypes, right? Stereotypes. There's negative stereotypes, but there's also like positive stereotypes. Don't know. Can someone be positively addicted to something? Like work. Could you be addicted to work, like a workaholic? Yeah, maybe. I would think you could. Yeah. So AJ is a scientist that I met through Isabel Dejo and her project Drawing Neurons. Lovely guy, superb. He, from my understanding, I don't understand things too well sometimes, but from my understanding, AJ studies addiction on a genetic level. Yeah, so it's kind of like suppose addiction would be in DNA. That would be really sad, though. Don't you think so? Like you were born with this set of DNA that tells you, "Hey, you're gonna be a junkie. You know, you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna have a hard time staying away from things that can make you addicted." I guess. Does that make sense? Yeah. An addictive personality, right? So someone who is prone to addiction. Yes. This is interesting to think about. Definitely interesting because I see common grounds with my artistic research as well, where I am, I'm always dealing with notions of intellectualism within the humanities, like art and music and such. And now, obviously, we're talking about addiction within the natural sciences, right? So, no, back to intellectualism. I believe intellectualism is a bit of a dependence as well. It's a dependence on wanting to or needing to justify the things that we create, or the things or justify our expressions. Like it is an exertion. It's flexing, right? I mean, if you are in hip hop, you understand this word flexing is used to refer to the like show off, like we're showing off that, yeah, you know, my artwork is so deep and conceptually sound and touches on many different things. And we do this because we seek the justification, like from the industry or the audience. You know, we seek this, like, there is this idea that if your works are deep, it's good. Good art is conceptual art, art that was given a lot of thought and is backed by a lot of research and data. Something I kind of disagree. I mean, there is obviously ambiguity in art. No, what's good or what's bad does not exist. But what happened to art that was very instinctual, very driven by emotion or intuition? Art that does not necessarily have to be so meaningful. Does that make sense? I suppose. That's art still, isn't it? Like, you know, just drawing things on the toilet door while you're taking a shit. I think that's art. I count that as art. It is a free form. It's a free expression. It's free expression. Yeah. But I reckon nowadays there is a trend for art that's heavily thought out. You know, art that's been planned strategically. Art that you can talk about at a university for 2 hours and have all the students mentally engaged. So I think there is definitely a rising trend for that in contemporary art, like especially when we're talking about the kind of art you see in galleries and other institutions. But we're talking about intellectualism because I actually see it as a veiled addiction, like as an addiction in disguise. Like, a good question to ask is if the artist is actually aware of this need or dependence on information and concepts and data to create art. Is he or she aware of this reliance? That is something to think about. And if so, I mean, that is something that's common grounds with AJ's research, which is very fascinating, actually. AJ is studying zebrafish, and they are experimenting with the exposure of nicotine and other things, other substances. So I suppose in his context, addiction, we're talking about substance addiction, whereas in my context, we're talking a little more about like a conceptual addiction. Does that make sense? I suppose the idea makes sense for now.